Hello, good morning, traders. How are we doing today? My name is Jason Krutzky. It is a pleasure to be with you again this morning, Tuesday morning. How are you guys doing today? I'm doing pretty good. It's a little early for me here. Had a little bit of a late night, but I'm here with you guys, and I'm happy to be here. How is y'all's week going so far? Obviously, yesterday was a pretty strong little day across the indices. Pretty impressive action, honestly. Good morning, Carl. How are you, sir? Where are you tuning in from, Mr. Medley? Just remove some things here. I wanted to start the morning off with a little bit of scanning, as I'm not sure exactly what has earnings here in the next couple days. Jersey. My parents are from Jersey. Haven't spent a ton of time there myself, but thank you for tuning in. Pleasure to have you. So I'm just in the scanner here, and I'm looking for stuff that's got earnings. Oops, I didn't mean to use the X days ago. Let me do this. Earnings dates within the next 2 days. I'm going to scan through the S&P 500 list. Carl, if you have any questions about anything, please do let me know. If anybody has any questions at any time, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer questions about TrendSpider. So I don't have any real agenda here today. I don't have anything planned out to show you guys. I'm just hanging out with you guys. Good morning, Giuseppe from Italy. What's happening? What's up, Hall's family? How are you? Hopefully you're well today too. But yeah, no agenda. I'm just kicking it here in pre-market, checking out what I'm checking out. Am I expecting a pullback on SPY at the bell? I don't know. I don't really have a ton of expectation for SPY here. Let's look at what's going on. I mean, we are this close to the previous highs, these February highs. So my expectation, and this is, not trading advice, not by any means, but my expectation would be that they would at least go for these highs. So pullback now, I don't know whether they'll pull it back on the open. No idea. But I would expect they're this close to these highs. You have to assume you've got a ton of stops above these highs, a bunch of people who are short, and they've got their stops above these highs. I would imagine those stops will get run sooner than later. Jeff, your charts get compressed when you change time frames. Compressed in what way? Compressed vertically or horizontally? And are there specific time frames where that happens? So for example, let's just do a little flipping through. This is the daily here. So when I flip through different time frames, I don't see the same thing happening. Now I know as you get into the larger time frames, you get into like the yearlies, they are anchored to the left-hand side of the chart. So it's not possible to once you see all of the data that's there, it's not possible to drag it over to the right. I have reached out to our dev team to see if there's anything we can do about that, because I spoke to a customer yesterday who had that issue as well, or who pointed out that issue. Like daily to 5 minute and back. Let's see. Now, are you... So for example, if I'm on the daily here, I'm relatively zoomed into the daily. I'm going to go back to the 5 minute. See, even then it still stays kind of where it was zoomed in before. I think I kind of need to see is, Jeff, as I'm shuffling through these time frames, is it looking the same way that it looks for you? Or does it do something different on your end? So I'm going to 5. Here's the daily. I'll go back to the 5. They look pretty much the same to me as far as the amount of candles that I'm seeing while I wait for that. Halls, what indicators best suit you for swing trades that you find most valuable? Well, first of all, I'm not really much of a swing trader. So maybe a little bit difficult for me. But what I would say on that is, depending on your time frame, um, I guess what I would probably be using is I would use a mix. For general trend, I would be using some moving averages. And again, how long is a swing trade for you? Are you talking about months? Are you talking about days? Everybody kind of has different definitions there. Okay, Jeff, yeah, that works. Or if you can, let me give you my email address. If you want to take a screen grab, like a video, you can send a video to me there at that email, Jason@Niche Theory. Days max 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, so initially for trend, different people have different opinions about this. I've heard of traders using both the 5 and the 8 SMA as just kind of like a basic trend gauge. So let me throw those up real quick. I'm gonna switch this to a 5. I'll switch. Yeah, I've got it. So I've got a 5 and an 8 here. Let me turn off zigzag too. So there's a 5 and an 8. And so this would be a first kind of like, I'm going to turn off the scanner for a minute. This would be a first initial gauge. Where is price relative to these two moving averages? And again, use whichever one you want. I've even heard of people using a 3 period. But I kind of would probably lean more towards like a 5 or an 8, maybe even most lean towards an 8. Personally, just as a general trend, are we trading? Is price above it? Is it upward sloping? So that would be a first piece for me. A second piece for me would be zigzag. And zigzag, I'm going to turn that on and turn off the moving averages. So zigzag for me is like just a good, easy way of seeing where the major trend shifts are, so where the swing highs and lows are. It kind of does a really nice job of kind of funneling out all the noise and just giving me the major swing points. Depending on how versed you are with looking at swing levels, you might be keen to see more swings than what the zigzag is going to show you. For example, you have a swing low here, you have a swing high, you make a new low, you make a swing high, you make a new low, right? So you have these, again, it's all about your time frame and these sorts of things, but if you were just looking at this without zigzag on, you might see more swing highs and lows than what zigzag shows you. And I kind of like that about it. I like that it filters out some of that noise and just gives me the major swing levels. It also gives me the horizontals off of those swing levels too, the horizontal levels off of them, so I can very quickly and easily see where price is relative to them. And as a guy who trades based off of trend, I am generally looking for what they do at these major swing levels. So, for example, you have a low. This is C. This is a swing low, right? The high that brought you to C is D. And then what did they do? Well, they gained, they didn't quite gain D, but they made a new high with B, right? You have a higher high than this D swing. So because they made a higher high, you kind of anticipate that they would make a higher low too, which they did here at A, which then would make you anticipate that they would make a higher high relative to this B. But then once they reach B, then what? Well, it's, we don't know what they're going to do once they reach it, but you tend to think that they're going to at least come for these stops up here. So to me, establishing long positions based off of what's going on with zigzag seems kind of difficult to do here because we don't know what they're going to do with B. Now they could come right to it. They could reject it, kind of similar how they did back here. They made a new high, but they had trouble really getting up and over it and holding it. See how they found resistance at this D. So they rejected and they went lower. Well, that might not happen here, right? They may totally do something like this. They may just ghost it through this high and then come back and test and hold here. I don't know what they're going to do, but just because of where I'm at, or because of the style that I trade, it would make it very hard for me to take a long position up here into these highs. And that could change, you know, that could change if they do ghost through it, come back down, and then look like they're trying to hold it. Then you have a nice risk off level. The moving averages to determine kind of short term where you are. Zigzag to determine where you are within trend. I'm always going to utilize relative strength just to give me an idea of, are we seeing any slowing momentum into some new highs. You always want to see, in order to help confirm new highs or new lows, you want to see RSI doing the same. If we make a new high here, we want to see RSI make a new high relative to kind of this February 2nd level around 70. That would confirm a little bit more of the strength in this move. So, you know, if RSI, let's say for example, we do get a move where we make a new high, right? And let's say that into that RSI fails and goes lower. That might tells me that there's a little bit of divergence. That doesn't mean that I need to just immediately go short, but it tells me that the strength is weakening into a new high. I know that means there's some divergence there. And so it's just something I'll be keeping an eye on. I don't use a ton of indicators myself because I'm a price action trader. So I'm really just looking at where's price relative to where it's been. I'm always going to be looking for, you know, gaps and things like that on the chart. I really like, let me show you this, because this is kind of this is a price action concept, these fair value gaps. This is an ICT concept. Don't know if you're familiar with ICT, but it's something that I keep my eye on because it's kind of conceptually similar to what I look for. So anytime you have these fair value gaps, let me zoom in here and show you the ones that are near term above us. These are the two that are near term above us. So essentially what you have, a fair value gap is generally a 3 candle. It's created off of 3 candles. So you have a single candle, and then you have an engulfing candle, and then you have a third candle that doesn't come back into that first candle. So here, this is your first candle, and we're specifically looking at the low of that candle, and see how this candle here, they broke down below the low, but then they never came back in to test the low that they lost. They just kept going lower. And so essentially what it did, it created this giant fair value gap, where you could argue there's not a ton of volume. There's just kind of like a blank space because they moved it lower so fast. And you see this to the upside as well. You can see there's a fair value gap here. And they don't always fill, but they have a tendency to. It's kind of like your standard gaps. They have a tendency to fill. And so we look for them to be places where price might fail once it comes back through it. So they tried to come back through it initially here, and so they made the fair gap value a little bit smaller, and then they came back through it again a little bit more. But there is still quite an area to close out. So like on a longer term time frame, you know, depending on what they do when they come through here, if they do come through B and they get higher and they come back and they test and hold, then maybe what I'm targeting is somewhere up here in the fair value gap. See if they can come back up into it and fill it. But the fair value gap indicator is just to show you kind of what lies above and below. There are fair value gaps lower too, from the move back at the end of March. There's quite a few of them down here. So maybe if they fail B and they start moving lower, then maybe I look for them to come in and fill some of these gaps, these fair value gaps. Again, it's just, you know, it's just a quick and simple way of seeing what's there ahead of me. Yeah, and Halls, what's cool about Zigzag is that you can, at least, what's cool to me about Zigzag is that you can scan for it. So because, hold on, let's see. So like head and shoulders patterns. Head and shoulders patterns historically are very difficult to scan for because how do you define where those highs are? In theory, you'd have to use range, and it just gets really, really difficult and convoluted to try and use range. And so I actually personally requested the ability to draw these horizontal lines. So let me just turn off, this stuff just so we can go back to Zigzag here. I personally requested the ability to draw these lines off of the Zigzag, the A, B, C, D, and E, so that I could then define them relative to one another. I can define where B is relative to D. I can define where A is relative to C. You see it right here. A is less than C. B is greater than D. I can define where price is relative to any of them. The thing that you have to keep in mind with Zigzag is that these move. So if this goes lower, it's going to take some time for this to happen, but let's just say this goes lower here. Well, what happens is that A moves to here, B moves to here, C moves to where B is, and so on. It all moves up. So we're only ever looking back 5. B is not stationary. C is not stationary. D is not stationary. And so you do have to keep that in mind. So this, for me, is best used on a larger time frame. I use it to find bigger time frame setups like daily head and shoulders patterns or daily inverse head and shoulders patterns. I'll scan this real quick and see, and I can actually share it with you too so that you can have it and play around with it. I do find this really helpful just in finding these longer time frame setups. So this is exactly what I'd be looking for. And it's not exact, but it's close. So essentially what you have is you have A less than C, which is what I've got defined first, right? A is lower than C. I've got B is greater than D. So here's your B. It's greater than D. And then I've defined essentially that price is within range of D by 5%, right? So D is here. Price is within range of it by 5%. And then there's some other things in here, kind of some basic stuff. Price close greater than $5, volume greater than 500,000, price close less than D. So I don't specifically want to see, I don't just want to see that price is within range of D. I want to see that price is below it because, again, I'm looking for potential head and shoulders patterns. And again, this isn't the cleanest version of it, but this is the basic idea. One big thing that I look for when I'm looking for head and shoulders patterns is that specifically that A is less than C. That kind of is what confirms the pattern for me personally. They don't always play out. This could very well go higher. And sometimes you'll see head and shoulders patterns where A is greater than C and then it fails and rolls over. It can happen anyway, but for me as a price action guy, I would prefer to see that A is less than C in any head and shoulders instance. It's going to give me more confidence about the potential for the trade. So that's what this is looking for. Let me actually here, I could just share this with you. You can shoot me an email if you have questions anytime, feel free, but I can share this with you too. One really awesome thing about TrendSpider is that you can share all this sort of stuff. Any TrendSpider users can share their scans, their strategies, their watch lists with other users super, super easy just by making these links. We are like 20 minutes in. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. If I can, I'm going to do a little shilling here and request that you please give me a like and subscribe on the channel. Y'all's likes and subscribes really helps me out a lot. So if you are enjoying it this morning, I do these Tuesdays and Thursdays. I also go live for lots of different events. So I'll be live tomorrow afternoon after hours for Tesla earnings reaction. We're going to do a giveaway as well. So if you want to come hang out for Tesla earnings, I will be live for that. I try to be live for anything that's going to move markets pretty heavily or anything that people are really excited about in the markets. So big data, fundamental data releases, FOMC, CPI, PCE, those sorts of things, and then big earnings results. I like to be live for those too. So give me a like and subscribe. If you subscribe, turn on notifications, you will know every time I'm going live. Tuesdays, Thursdays, always 9 a.m. For an hour and a half or 2 hours, however long it takes. You know, if you guys have questions, I'm here to answer them. So I will hang out with you guys as long as you have questions coming at me. How far up do you think IWM will go by the end of this week, Friday? Dean, I have no idea, man. Let's take a look. This is all stuff from my weekly blog that I write. So let's look at it based off of zigzag. Based off of zigzag, we lost C, right? So A made a lower low than C. So for me, what I would be targeting is somewhere around D. That would kind of be my target. There are some fair value gaps. We can see them pretty easily. I'll throw indicators back on. Put it back on. Where did it go? Oh, interesting. It's not even highlighting them. I'm surprised by that. Well, there are. Let me do this. I got too many things going on here. There is kind of a level in here. Again, where price lost and never came back to test. You do have a gap. I don't know what names. Now we can look. Actually, we'll look. You have a gap here, right? From what, 180.5 to 181.30. So that's something to keep an eye on. It's not far from here. A lot of the really scary names, I kind of think in the IWM anyway, have been reporting. Let's check and see what's going on with earnings. What day is today? Tuesday. So we'll say what, like within the next 3 days. And let's search the 2000. Just want to see what's reporting. See if anything sticks out. So nothing like super sticks out here as a really important name. If you guys see anything that you know is really important to the index, then do let me know. I don't know. This thing looks definitely poised for higher. I would be watching this gap fill for sure. You know, they could end up filling the gap a little bit or getting right up to it and maybe having a little bit of trouble through there. What they do through that gap might be kind of interesting to keep an eye on. But for me, I would be more looking at what they do in here once they fill this fair value gap and once they come into this D level, because there is a little bit of a potential head and shoulders thing setting up, but it's going to take a little bit to play out. I don't know that they would get there this week. That would be kind of surprising to me, but yeah, Dustin, we got Netflix after the bell today. That should be interesting. You know, obviously that's a big name. Lots of people are watching it. I won't be live for Netflix, unfortunately, but I will be live tomorrow for Tesla. But yeah, Dean, I'm sorry, man. I don't really do the prediction thing. I'm not trying to guess and assume what they're gonna, where they're gonna close, but it does look like they're ready to take it a little bit higher. I mean, it's looking pretty strong. They're consolidating off of that 178. Kind of just this, you know, they're trading in a very tight range, right? So you really want to see what they do. They might be actually above it. Yeah, so pre-market, they're even above this level that they've been having trouble getting through. So that's a big spot, you know, that 179, 178 and change, somewhere thereabouts. Like, it's a pretty important spot that they haven't been able to get through for some days, but they're now above. So we'll see what they do. Oh, so this is why the fair value gap isn't noticing. Maybe because this wick, it's like after hours wick. Well, whatever the case, up and over this, then you have to assume if they come up and over this and they hold it, they could just push right through it and not come back and test it until they fail somewhere up here. I don't know. Short it. What's up, 88? Good to see you here. ASML. ASML, I mean, just consolidating sideways, right? They didn't make a new high, but they also didn't make a new low. So, I don't know. For me, it'd be hard to play this. Go to a bigger time frame and see. Volatility and earnings. Volatility is very low right now, that's for sure. I kind of think it's like it's low. It's like catching a knife. What? Trying to go long volatility. Natural gas is kind of similar too, right? Oh, it's coming back a little bit. Let's see what's going on here. Natural gas. This one's been a tricky one to trade, though, for sure. Boil. It's just an ugly, ugly chart. Sure, nice bounce. 20% off 3. That's great, but whew, it's a tricky, tricky chart to trade. You almost just have to like wing it if you're going to trade this, or you need to like know something that people don't know. Where are we at? Market's opening in 3 minutes here. Is there a best way to use the double top, double bottom scan? More interested in an alert that says a double bottom or double top was just made. Most time when I use that scan, it's already happened. So what I would do, honestly, is I would use zigzag for it. Because double top, double bottom is being drawn based off of zigzag levels. So what I would do on that is I would use a larger time frame, and I would say indicator, let's say weekly zigzag A is within range of indicator weekly zigzag C. And we would want to define this, I don't know, we can use kind of whatever percent we want. Just whatever you're comfortable with percentage-wise. I don't know, maybe let's start with 3. But then also what we need to do is we need to find that it's at like a relative top of a range, right? Jeff, have you not been here with me talking about zigzag? Zigzag is an indicator, and it's what we use to build double top, double bottom. So let's do this. So what we need to do is we need to define that we're relatively near the top of a range. And, you know, it can be done. I'm going to be loose with it to start because I'm not exactly sure what this is going to yield, but I'm going to use range. I'm going to say, actually, we're going to say price, weekly close. Is within range of indicator, weekly range, high. And we'll say, I don't know, let's say 3% there. And then I also want to use a bigger length. I don't know what we're going to find. I don't know if we're going to find anything. But essentially what we're saying is that zigzag A is within range of zigzag C. And that the closing price, essentially the current price this week, when we run this scan, is within range of a 50-week range high. Well, maybe we'll call it 52, so a yearly high. So price is near highs, and A is within C, so it's kind of near another high, a previous high. Let's look NYSE. I'm going to keep it unfiltered for now because I want to see what comes up when we run this. Okay, so that's not what I was looking for. What I need to do is I need to define price closing within range of A. So indicator, weekly, zigzag A, 3%. Let's try this again. Ah, I gotcha. Well, Jeff, I can talk you through it. And also you can watch the replay of this once I'm not live anymore, because I kind of talked through how it works just a few moments ago. So let's see what else. So here we go. Okay. So this is kind of like what I'd be looking for, right? You have A is within range of C. You have prices within range of A, and you're towards a near-term top. You're towards a near-term high. This may not be exactly the look that you're after, but it's potentially it. Now, we could take this farther. We could take this farther, and we could define more things about it. So here's another kind of example. This, again, this might not be quite what you're looking for, but it could be. You know, you could potentially argue that this is a potential double top. To confirm that this is, they say that these patterns aren't real, but to confirm that this is, you would need to see price lose the low between the two. And so far, it's bouncing at the pivot, right? They bounced really nicely here at this pivot and holding. So what do they do when they come back into this? Do they make a new low and roll over? It's going to take some time for this to play out, but this is kind of the general idea of what I think you're looking for. Now you could define, if you wanted to, like, for example, if the E pivot here is messing with your mojo, if this doesn't look exactly like what you're thinking, you could always define where E is relative to C, and you could define that it's quite lower than C if you want. You could define where D is relative to C2 if you want to. But for the most part, you know, essentially what you're looking for is price near a high, near a relative high per whatever time frame you're interested in. Again, remember I used a yearly high. It's a range high. So price closes within range, 52-week high by 3%. So within 3% of the 52-week high. Price close within range of A. That's right here. That's this pivot. So, you know, maybe you want to see that. Maybe you want to see that this move hasn't already happened. Do you ever scan for these kinds of double top, double bottoms? I look more for the head and shoulders patterns than double top, double bottom, personally, because again, even though we didn't really properly gain. And when I say gain, I mean price closes and stays above a previous high. So you have a previous high C here. See, we did not make a new high. A did not gain C. And C technically didn't gain E either. It made a new high, but it didn't close above it and hold above it before going lower. I want to see, to confirm a move, I want to see price close above and stay above, at least for a period of candles before moving lower. Then at least I know, okay, they held it. They're just moving lower to test something lower. And that, for me, helps me set up the expectation that they might actually gain next time they come back and test, which is what you wouldn't have assumed it here, because they did not actually gain anything. They just broke through a high. Essentially, they took out a bunch of stops above E, and then they sent it lower. And then with A, because they did that with E here on C, with A, you wouldn't expect them to really gain it either because they didn't before. They tried, but they failed. And they really kind of failed right where they should have because they lost D. So then they went and tested E and they failed it. But now it's looking like they might want to try and actually move above this. So when I look for these sorts of things, though I don't look specifically for double tops and double bottoms, I do look for patterns that are created in the same way. It's just head and shoulders are the ones that I'm really interested in. I'm interested in head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders. And that's just me. That's just what I like to trade. That's what I like to look for. Nothing right or wrong to it. It's just what it is. Sometimes those head and shoulders patterns will yield very similar looks to this. Let me see here. I'm gonna search NMS and see if there's anything here. And if you want, Jeff, I can share the scan with you if you'd like it. Yeah, so here's another kind of look. Yeah, let me share that with you. Let's call this potential head and shoulders Vance. Say save. I'm gonna switch it back to NYC because at least it brought up a couple of names. And what I would encourage you to do, Jeff, is I would encourage you just to oh no, what happened? I would encourage you to play around with this. Okay, so it did say, let me just refresh here. Looks like the market's open. We'll let this thing run. Go over to SPY real quick, see what's going on there on SPY. Gap up open. I didn't want to run this through NASDAQ. While this runs, real quick, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I need to respond to a couple of colleagues here very quickly. Bullard made comments on Reuters about rates again. What did he say? Lovely. We love it when Fed people make comments. One guy says one thing, price goes higher. One guy says another thing, 10 minutes later, price goes lower. These people are the best market manipulators out there. Man, Skinner's super slow this morning, huh? I'm just going back, reading through your comments, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I didn't miss anything. Ah, man, scanner, what are you doing? There we go. Okay. We'll let this thing do its thing, and then I'll get it over to you, Jeff. There we go. No, I didn't, Jeff. What comment? There's that. I wonder, you know what we could do? Let's try something. I'm just like thinking out loud here. What if we said, what if we define that price, or rather, let's see, daily zigzag C is within range of indicator daily range high. What if we did this? And let's make it like 50 days. Let's say, I don't know, 3%. And then let's say that price close within range of indicator daily zigzag C. I don't know exactly what we're going to find here. Let me see. That's not what I'm looking for. And nor is that. That's not even close. Let me think about this better. Sometimes you just script things wrong. That's all. Okay, so first of all, I was on the weekly and I'm doing a daily scan. So there's that. Let me see. I'm also going to say daily zigzag C is greater than indicator daily zigzag D. I'm going to say also that indicator daily zigzag C is greater than indicator daily zigzag B. Let's do that too. What I'm kind of trying to do here with this, I'm kind of trying to find A before A happens is mostly the idea. That's not it though. Yeah, that's not it. Well, maybe. See, sometimes you just got to think through things. Let's try zigzag B instead. Indicator daily range high. And let's do this. I just want to see what comes up. Gonna get a lot of stuff here. And let's see, price. So now I'm saying that price is closed within range of zigzag B. UVXY delta calls are up. Why this? One, I'm not sure. Ah. does it keep switching to weekly? So here you go, Jeff. This is kind of interesting. This isn't exactly it, but it's actually pretty darn interesting. You see why this is kind of interesting to me? If we also then say price close less than indicator daily zigzag B. So we've got that as within range of by 1%, but we've also got that is closing lower than. So it's very close to B. Maybe we should also, let's make these all weeklies. Yeah, this might even be even closer to what you're looking for, man. Honestly. Because it's showing you that potential. Coming right into previous highs. What we may want to define is that also, let's do this. Weekly zigzag B is greater than indicator weekly zigzag D. Because we don't really want to see something that looks like this. Look at NASDAQ. Yeah. I'm gonna share this with you too, Jeff. H-lit. Here you go. That's kind of a look. Let's do this. And we'll call this number 2. Ah, shoot. Well, that's annoying. Okay, I see what I did. So valuable lesson for everybody tuned in who's a TrendSpider user. Valuable lesson for me too. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I started remaking this, all I did was X out of the previous. I X'd out all of the conditions from the previous idea that I just shared. And what I should have done, I should have created a new scanner. When I X'd out those conditions, it stayed in the scanner that I had shared. And so essentially, if I were to save this now, then it's just going to save to the scanner that I just shared. Now, Jeff, I'm going to leave this up to you. Do you want to keep that old one and I can remake this one as a new one? Or should I update the one I just shared with you? I honestly think this might be a little bit closer to what you're after. So I almost want to just save this so that you don't have two of the same. But I'm happy to do either or. You tell me. Update. Okay, perfect. So there you go. You are updated. And then what I would just do with this is I would play around with timeframes. You know, utilize timeframes that make sense for you. And you could also change things like by changing the range length. Like right now we're looking at 52 weeks. So we're looking at a yearly high. You could make this 200 weeks. Or you can make it 10 or 5 or, you know, try different time frames with this too. Again, I don't know what time frame you trade, so I don't know. I don't want to, you know, tell you what you need to use. But I do want to tell you, play around with it. And so when you load this on your end, I'll show you guys kind of what that looks like. So to anybody who wants to utilize this. When you load this, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. You're going to click Login and Import. I can't import it because I made it, but it'll come up and say Login. And so you'll just say Login, and then it will appear over here. And you can type in our friend Vance, type in Vance, and you will see. Actually, let's change this. Instead of potential HNS, double top. I don't know why I said potential HNS. Yes. There you go. So it'll come up in here. And then you will have a prompt at the top that says this scanner is shared. You cannot edit it unless you make your own copy. So Jeff, what you'll want to do is you'll want to make your own copy so that you can edit it. Ticket is not going up yet. Not sure what you mean there, Juan. SPY going for gaps. Lose that market scanner. Seems pretty logical from here, huh? You got those January highs, and you've got a weekly gap, 420. Are they going to hit 420 on 420? Does that happen, do you think? That'd be pretty memey. So guys, we are running up on the end of my time here. Any last minute questions from the gang? I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the subscribes from all y'all. Yeah, Jeff, I appreciate the question so much. It really helps me out a lot. You know, keeps me a little sharp, and also I love being able to help get you guys where you're trying to go with things. I understand that sometimes it can be difficult to know how to start scripting. But sometimes it's like, you know, you just have to break down your idea into something very, very basic. And then knowing about indicators that can help you define that idea. That's why I like zigzag so much, because it's one of the few price action indicators out there. So many indicators are momentum or trend following. And with zigzag, it's just where's price relative to where price was. And when it comes to things like, you know, double top, double bottom, those sorts of price action things, setups, it can be really difficult to define, because again, previously you'd have to use range, and then you have to define the range, which gets tricky. So zigzag's really helpful in that way. And they did just introduce some new functionality. We haven't talked too much about it, but I don't know if you guys noticed, but so now you can, there's this little button right here. That's the copy button. So like if you want to define that price close greater than yesterday, and you want to see like multiple days in a row, it used to be you had to script all this stuff one by one. Super pain. So now we can just copy. So essentially like what this is looking for, 6 days in a row of higher closes. Probably not a ton of names that are going to meet this, but let's see. Yeah, man. Agree. Next, we got to get to where we can change the definers without having to remove the condition. That would be helpful too. Jeff, just so I know these prompts will happen when I log in again. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You can? Wait, for real? Oh, it destroys this. It destroys the right side. Stop it. Oh, you can. Oh my gosh. Learn something new every day, man. Rashad, tell me about your issues. What's the issue? What kind of alert are you trying to create? Wow, yeah, that's stupidly helpful. Thank you for letting me know that, James. Feel bad I didn't know that. Regular alert. So what are you putting an alert on? Are you putting an alert on a line, on an indicator? Are you trying to get alerted on a series of items or just a single thing? Define, give me a little bit more information about the type of alert you're trying to create there. On a line. Okay, so are you trying to create a line? Are you using horizontals? Are you using diagonals? So, for example, are you using the auto trends? Are you drawing your own lines? I promise I'm not trolling you. I want to understand exactly what you're doing so I can show you exactly how to fix it. Horizontal. Okay, perfect. There's one very simple trick to horizontal lines that you need to know. I'm going to extend this to the right, and I'm going to make it thick so you can see it. A horizontal line is a ray, essentially, right? It has a point and then the line extends out into the future indefinitely. Say I want to get alerted right here. I right click, say create alert. First I have to pick a trigger. Breakthrough, touch, bounce. I could choose all three. I could choose two. I could choose one. It's up to you. My only recommendation here is make sure you read each definition of each trigger. Make sure you understand the difference between all three. They are all different. It's important to understand the difference. One does not necessarily mean the other. Touch is not the same thing as a breakthrough. Breakthrough is not the same thing as a bounce. They're all different. If you want to be alerted on all of them, pick all of them. Generally speaking, I like touch because I just want to be alerted when price gets there. I don't care about waiting for the bounce. And if it breaks through, I don't want to know. I only want to be alerted on the touch. Sensitivity is the dollar amount plus or minus the line that the alert fires within. Increasing the sensitivity means you're going to get an alert on a wider range. Decreasing the sensitivity means you're going to get an alert on a smaller range. Turn it all the way off if you specifically need price to actually touch the line. It's up to you. No right or wrong there. Use it however you want. Next, you have your time frame that you get alerted on. This is going to be dependent on the time frame of your chart. If you're on a daily chart, you can get an alert down to a 10-minute. If you're on a 4-hour or lower, you can get an alert down to a 5-minute. If you're on a weekly, I think it's like 30 minutes. So when it comes to price action, when it comes to getting an alert on a level, generally what I'll do is I'll create based off of the time frame where I think the level is important, and then I'm going to go down to a smaller one. Where the heck's my line? Oh, shoot. Hold on. So first thing, right click on the line, and I need to change this to visible on all time frames. It was only visible on the one time frame. That's why I couldn't see it when I went to a lower. So we'll go to the hourly here. Right click, create alert, touch, sensitivity, confirmation candle down to the 5-minute. That means I'll get an alert on the close of the 5-minute candle that actually meets this condition. It actually touches the line. I choose my expiry, however long I want this to live in my system. Generally, I'll just give this a lot of time because I never know when price is going to get there. And then my triggers are price can touch this line multiple times, and I may want to be alerted each time it touches. So I could choose multiple triggers so that I'm alerted multiple times on each touch. So essentially price could touch this line 3 times within the next 55 days, and I'll get 3 alerts to let me know. So I say create alert, and now that alert is on this line. There's one thing that I did not talk about, and that is when you create a line, notice the difference between this line and this line. It's the exact same line, but notice where it's starting. Notice how the ray. Oh, okay. So I'm glad you figured it out. I want to also mention this because I do see some traders doing this. Some traders will put lines on their chart out in the future. You see where price action ends. We see where this line starts, right? See how it's not within price action. If I move it to the left, now it's within price action. The starting point of this line is within price action. If I move it to the right, the starting point of this line is not within price action. It's outside. It's in the future. So if I right click on this line and choose create alert, I can't. You cannot create alerts on lines that have base points in the future. So keep that in mind. The other piece of this is diagonals. So let's say I utilize this tool. I've just drawn a diagonal line connecting highs. And what if I want to get alerted when it gets right here, right? Same idea. There are 2 base points of this segment. This is a segment line, draw segment. There are 2 base points, one here and one here. And notice how this base point is out in the future. So if I right click on this and say, oops, see how it doesn't even give me a create alert option? I cannot create an alert on this line. I have to utilize the trend line drawing tool that extends out into the future. And then I can create an alert on it. So some fine tooth comb type of alert scenarios there for you, but good to know that those are things to be mindful of. So guys, I am up. I'm into the hour here, so I'm about to jump. Unless anybody has any last minute questions for me, if you have any last minute questions, do get those in now. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until potentially tomorrow afternoon. I will be live again tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to be live twice tomorrow. So let's do a couple of housekeeping things. First housekeeping thing for anybody who's not yet a TrendSpider user. I have a 35% off discount coupon that I can hook you guys up with. It is right here. If you're not yet a TrendSpider user, interested in trying the platform, 7-day free trials, 35% off the plan of your choice, yearly or monthly, doesn't matter. So do take advantage of that if you're not a user yet. Second thing, I'm going to be live twice tomorrow. First, I will be live at 12 p.m. Eastern time on Twitter Spaces. We're going to be talking Tesla earnings. We're going to be talking Netflix earnings. We're going to be talking maybe a little bit about the banks, maybe about the setup on the indices. I've got some really cool folks joining me tomorrow. Some folks I haven't talked to in a while. Some folks I've never talked to. We've got Whole Mars Blog tomorrow. He is a relative Tesla expert. So I'm really excited to talk to him and get some like good fundamental stuff about Tesla that he's keeping an eye on for earnings. It's Whole Mars Blog. We've got Sarah Strat Sniper. She's coming on tomorrow. I'm excited about that. She hasn't been on Space in like 6 months. And she's a good buddy. So I'm excited to have her on. We've got our friends at Sestry and Cap, Alex King, and who else? Brian Lund. He's going to be on tomorrow. So 12 Eastern time, Twitter Spaces with all those awesome folks. 12 p.m. Eastern time, TrendSpider Twitter Spaces. And then I'm going to be live back here on TrendSpider TV on YouTube 30 minutes before the bell. So 3:30 Eastern time, watching Tesla earnings reaction. So we'll just be hanging out. It's really, these are just fun, right? Like we're just trying to have a good time. And I'm going to be doing a little contest, maybe a subscription giveaway or some swag giveaway. I'm not sure. I'm going to do a Guess the Open contest tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in that, join me tomorrow for Tesla earnings. If you're going to be watching them live, come hang out with me. And then I'll be back doing this again on Thursday morning, pre-market. 9 a.m. Eastern. So that is my live schedule for the week. Would love to have you guys be a part of any of it. So if you're interested, come hang. Thank you again for joining me today. As always, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. And I look forward to potentially seeing some of your names in the Twitter space tomorrow. Again, that's 12 Eastern time. And then the live for the Tesla earnings at 3:30 Eastern time. You're very welcome, Rashad. Happy to have you on. Y'all holler at me if you need anything. My Twitter handle at Krutzky Trades. It's on the bottom bar here over there. My DMs stay open. If you ever have any questions about the platform, don't hesitate to hit me up. Happy to help you however I can. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your day. Trade them well, and we will see you all very soon. All right, guys. Later.